There we go. Hello there, everybody. Don't know if I've got anybody in the chat yet. There we go. Right. So it's something new for me. Doing a video sort of podcast rather than just audio. But needs must. I've just finished one with Luke from Hoth of the Press. If you don't follow Luke, he's on Twitter. He's on everywhere. Watch my stream. Right. He's on Twitter, he's on Spotify and whatnot, so go give him a listen. He's a really sound guy, and he invited me on. Yeah, he is. Hey, he's in a chat. So tonight, what I was going to do is I was going to record my review of Rogue One because I was I was watching a live watch along on YouTube from the guys at Podcast of the Old Republic. Shout out to them as well. Follow them because they are brilliant. And I might be starring in one of their shows in the future. Hear that, guys? It's in audio writing now. So we watched Podcast of the Old Republic watching Rogue One, and it was a good wee laugh because we obviously still can't get out properly back to normal. So it's been good to kind of sit down and watch some Star Wars movies with some guys that we met on the internet, which sounds creepier than it's meant to be. So what I thought I would do is I would take some notes while I was watching it and do a wee review of my own. So Rogue One, if you haven't seen it, is just basically a prequel to the original Star Wars A New Hope. Just give you a wee overview of it. It's basically the story of how they ended up with the plans that were inside R2D2 that Princess Leia had and how she got a hold of them. It follows Jyn Erso, one of them. Erso, I wrote it down. It follows her father, Galen, and Jyn, obviously, but Galen is the man who designed this Death Star and who designed the flaw in it to make sure they could have a movie for the original Star Wars. And so they had a bit of hope. It was a great start, prequel to the trilogy. You don't really hear that nowadays about prequels, but looking back, the prequels were not bad now compared to what we ended up with. Not saying anything about Rise of Skywalker, but not happy. The stories about well, I've went over that bit. So the main things I enjoy about it is all the practical effects. It looks and feels like an actual Star Wars movie. Oh, that effing guy. Hey Jordan. This is going to be for some weird listening if you're listening to this on Spotify. So bear with me. If you're watching it, listening to this on Spotify, follow me on Twitch. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about. As I said, the thing that I like about, or one of the things I like about the sort of newer Star Wars movies is that they've gone back to their roots and try to do some more practical stuff rather than just being all CG like the prequels were. Not to say that the CGI in all of the prequels was bad, just Attack of the Clones was pretty heavy on it. But the cinematography on the Rogue One was fucking beautiful because there was all practical landscapes. It was shot in real life. It wasn't shot on a green screen, or a blue screen, I guess. But this is before the Mandalorian came about, where they started using I can't remember the name of it, but the mad projection sort of screens that they use to make it look like they're actually there. It's also the first time I think that we see a character from the Clone Wars cartoon in live action, which is Saw Gerrera, who is played by Forrest Whitaker. He was amazing as Saw Gerrera. He's also obviously he's not got much of a story in this. He is a major part of it. and it's also a good opening to, if you're not sure who Saw Gerrera is, if you see Rogue One, it might interest you in going on and watching the Clone Wars cartoon, which, even though it's a cartoon, just reading the chat, even though it's a cartoon, it is really, really good. Like, I wasn't really that into it because I hadn't really sat down and watched a full episode of it. I'd seen it from time to time, but we never had, like, Disney. Was it Cartoon Network it was on? Was it Disney Channel? Either one of those, whichever one it was on when it first came out. I was not that into it. Like, I was in high school, I think, when it came out. But since Disney Plus launched last year, I've been pure streaming everything Star Wars, and I've become pure obsessed with Star Wars all over again, which is the right way mindset to be in, I believe. Rockstar, sponsor me. Um, So, the practical effects were amazing. The practical costumes as well. There were scenes with K2SO, who was like the droid of the sort of group, um, who's like an Imperial droid who's been hacked and whatnot, and they use him as like a decoy sometimes. He was fucking hilarious, like in most bits, because he's like pure deadpan. Like, he doesn't really have much of a face, like, and he doesn't. Well, saying that, they don't really have any sort of mouth when you think about it. I'm just rambling, but aye, so like the practical effects, the practical costumes as well. There wasn't like there's scenes with K2SO where you don't know if it's a puppet, if you don't know if it's a guy in a suit, you don't know if it's CGI because it looks that good. Like, it's brilliant. If you haven't watched it, I don't know what you're doing. Like, I was on the bench about going to the cinema to see it at first because I wasn't a fan of, well, I wasn't a major fan of the sequels, but so it kind of tarnished it for me because that's how I didn't go see Solo in the cinema, and I pure regret not going to go see Solo in the cinema. But I went to see Rogue One, and it was a really, really good watch. Um, do 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 do. Donnie Yen as well. I can't remember the name of his character in Rogue One, but he's brilliant as the monk, from who they used to originally protect the Kyber crystals. But obviously, with the Empire harvesting all the Kyber crystals for the Death Star, it's not much for him to protect. But he plays a blind monk, and at first you think, is he just going to be there to get in the way? Is he just going to be weird and all that? And he starts busting out classic Donnie Yen moves, on stormtroopers, and it's a great action scene to watch. Um, the main character, Jin Erso, she is a really good character because there's a good bit of an arc with her where at first she's not really want to be part of the Rebel Alliance. She's not want to be part of any part of the war that hasn't started yet. But she just wants to kind of get away from it all. But there's one pure emotional scene where she sees a hologram of her father, Galen, who is telling Saw that he's put a defect into the plans of the Death Star, and so there is a way of destroying it, which we all know is a 2 meter wide vent on the Death Star that Luke fires torpedoes into, and that sounds dirtier than it's meant to be. But he is also played by Mads Mikkelsen. I think it's Mads Mikkelsen. Is it Mads Mikkelsen? Jordan, going to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm waiting. Anybody? I'm sure it's Mads, but it's the one that played Hannibal. That's of the Nicholsons. That's the one, right? But he's brilliant as Galen. There we go. I was right. What was I talking about? Right. Aye. So there's a scene where she sees a hologram of him, and it's like the first time she's seen him since he had to go with the Empire after the Empire killed his wife, which was Jin's mum, and Jin went and hid in a bunker until Saw Gerrera turned up and he raised her. That'll do. But she's getting asked, like, do you really? Because I'm sure it's from Saw Gerrera. She's asked, like, because she doesn't want to be part of the Rebel Alliance or any part of the war. She's like, are you really okay with what's going on then? Like when you look up and you see all this nonsense going on, and she says, I've misquoted it, but it's not a problem if I don't look up, which is a pure like, it's going to happen. So what the fuck can I do? Sort of attitude, which changes towards the end of the movie, where she's the one who finds the plans and makes sure that they get them to the Rebel Alliance so they can stick them into R2D2 and then Luke Skywalker and go pew pew. That's as dumb as that's going to ever get. It shows a different side as well, because we always think that the Rebel Alliance are the ones who are most. That's the scene I'm talking about, like the hologram scene. That's the one. Aye, so we always think that the Rebel Alliance are the good guys, but this movie kind of shows it from a different perspective, and it's like you see scenes where it's like that's like a proper like terrorist looking thing. Obviously, like we still know the Empire are the bad guys, but from a different perspective, you look at it and you're like, Rebel Alliance weren't so squeaky clean as they make it out to be, or as the past movies make it out to be, which is a kind of a good take on the movie because it's gives you a bit more of an open opinion on the guys that we've grown up believing in, I guess. Because we always thought, oh, well, they're the heroes, they can't do any wrong, but they can. There is one scene. Well, there's a few scenes in it. Like, there's some really, really good CGI on Tarkin, because Peter Cushing died good 20 odd years ago, I'm sure. But he's in this. Like, I don't know if it's him actual doing the voice of it, but there's obviously like motion capture. But genuinely, if you haven't seen it, watch it. Like this, when I first seen it in the cinema, I was like, "Holy fuck, that is he alive? What is this like old footage?" But it isn't. It's CGI. There we go, Guy Henry. Aye. So, what was I talking about? Aye, no, the CGI. Aye. So, we get to see Peter Cushing basically come back to life. We also get to see Carrie Fisher as well at one point. And the Carrie Fisher CGI isn't as good, but it's still believable. Like, it still doesn't look out of place in the movie. It's that proper good, and it's like Carrie Fisher as she would have looked in the 70s when A New Hope came out. She's in like the proper white Princess Leia costume and everything. But as I said, there's one scene in this movie that everybody talks about because it's fucking amazing. And you don't expect it because he's in it a couple of times before the end of the movie, but you don't think of him showing up at this point. It's Darth Vader. Like Darth Vader, like it's the scene at the very start of A New Hope where like the rebels are waiting on the stormtroopers coming into the hole. It's like maybe 5 minutes before that scene. So all you hear, like they've got the plans and they're running down the hallway and the door gets stuck. And then like they're trying to put the plans through the door to the next people. And then it just, all the lights go off. And then you just hear the breathing of the mask. And you're like, holy shit. Like, this is going to be amazing. And then all you see is the red of his lightsaber. And then boom, like fucking he's doing a pure hallway scene, like it's like Daredevil. Or whatever one came first. I don't know if this came first or Daredevil came first, but either way, hallway scenes are always amazing, especially if you throw some Hot Rod Red in there. But aye, so there's a whole scene of him pure massacring all these rebel, and it's probably the most you ever see Darth Vader kill in any of the Star Wars movies. But he's absolutely wiping everybody out, and then at the very last minute, Princess Leia's Corvette, Hammerhead Corvette, gets away. Aye, like looks right. Like Vader basically becomes Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, depending on which way you look at it. But um, it was a really good movie. The whole idea of the movie was basically a new hope, to bring a new hope to the galaxy before a new hope comes out. And it all ends kind of sad because like the whole team of Rogue One basically dies off the whole and by the end of the movie. And then the Death Star turns up and obliterates absolutely fucking everything like it always does. That's something as well. Like when you see scenes from the inside of the Death Star, the way the set's set up, you would think it was shot when Star Wars was shot because it's almost identical to the way it looked back then. Like, and that's not to say it looks crap or anything like that. It just means like they knew what they were doing. Like they knew the audience, they knew the material they were wanting, and they gave it a great look. Like they made it feel like this is clearly someone has put their heart and soul into making this movie. And thank God they did because it was a brilliant watch and it actually redeemed most of the Disney Star Wars movies for me. That and Solo, like the two of them, kind of helped make up for what was lacking in the other sequels that I thought was missing. But yeah, that's my quick overview of everything. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it's only a wee short video or podcast, should I say? But I'm testing out this new mic that I got, and I hope, and this whole new setup of video in it. I hope you like the background photo. Oh, it's that side. Keep forgetting. It's all flipped. But I came dressed as well. That's my Rebel Alliance necklace. And hello there. So I hope you've enjoyed this wee clip. This is my first time properly uploading to Twitch as well. So if you aren't following me on Twitch and you're on Spotify, I'm over here now as well. I'm also on so if you just follow anywhere that Who Cares Nerds is, so it's Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes. We're on YouTube. What else are we? Facebook. I'm on Twitter at Who Cares Nerds. I did not totally write that down for my previous podcast with Luke earlier either, but I like a cheat sheet. As I said, like give Luke a follow. He's at Hoff Off the Press on Spotify and everywhere else on Twitch, I'm sure as well. Give Jordan, Dan, and Steve, sorry, Steve, a follow as well over on the podcast of the Old Republic. And yeah, thanks for watching, listening, whatever you're doing. Enjoy it. And I'll see you later, guys. Bye.